Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to address a challenging topic for me to speak about, but I think it could be useful, it could be important to share, and I also feel a need in my heart to share, so I just want to come right out and do this. I want to make a video that talks a little bit about anxiety, depression, general malaise, general unhappiness. I actually had a feeling to do this video because in the recent 1 to 2 months, I've had about 3 or 4, maybe 5 friends mention to me that they're struggling with these issues. And obviously, I'm not a qualified professional. If you're in a situation where you have a serious issue, you're going to need professional help. So don't rely on this video for that. This is just kind of like a heart-to-heart, friend for a friend to a friend. And usually I'm the kind of guy who just lends a listening ear and is just really supportive. I rarely give advice, especially on matters like this. But I want to get better at sharing how I feel because I think generally speaking, I am a very even-tempered, stable-minded individual, and I think there's a reason for that. There's some things that I do on a daily basis to build myself up, and I feel like if I didn't do those things, I also would be more susceptible to anxious and depressed and unhappy states. I can feel those things start to creep in when I don't do certain things in my daily life. So I want to share some of those things today that I think keep me buoyed and keep me buttressed. And I hope they might help you. I hope you won't avoid watching this video because you say, oh Matt, you just don't get it. You've never faced anxiety or depression and you don't know how I feel and you're not a professional. Let's just enter into a conversation where we can share how we feel and how we care about each other. Maybe that can be helpful. And this video is going to have some more of a theoretical, philosophical side to share how I think about these things, and also some tactices and practices that we can put into place. I've got a little aromatherapy thing going back here. I'm going to turn that off just so it doesn't distract me. It makes a little noise when it's running. So we're going to get into some philosophy and also some tactics. And again, this is things that I would be willing to share with my closest friend or my closest family member or my own child. So I send it to you with the same spirit. There's no intent to judge anybody, and there's no intent to be patronizing or make it seem like I have the definite answers to this kind of thing. I just want to try to be of help and be of service. So please understand that. First of all, one thing that I've been brainstorming on recently is, and because I live in China, is there's a lot of talk about preventative health as it applies to the physical body. So one thing I've been thinking about recently is, why don't we ever talk about mental health in the same way? I believe we should start a preventative health movement, if one doesn't already exist. I mean, maybe it does exist, but a preventative health movement for the mind, for our mentality, for our psychology. And maybe that's part of the reason why these issues go a little bit more smoothly for me, because I do invest into my mental health regularly in a variety of ways. But maybe you can start to think about your mental health that way. It's something that you have to work on. It's something that you have to build in you have to fortify it through various ways, like journaling, through absorbing positive content, maybe through counseling. I've actually thought of in recent years, maybe I should go through counseling sessions as a way to fortify myself before worse things potentially come to visit my psychology. As you get older, as you go through various seasons of life, as you get knocked down through different types of tragedies that will befall all of us, it could be useful to have worked with counselors before that time, so you understand different mindsets and tools that you can use. Another philosophy of mine is that I feel that a positive mind and a positive body, it has to be earned on a daily basis. It has to be built on a daily basis. Similarly, a meaning-filled life or a joyful life has to be built up or earned on a daily basis. And that is what frees you, again, on a daily basis from those more negative feelings. So it's not like you can just have one sunny day where you work on these things, and that may be good. It has to be part of your daily habits. And again, I find that if I don't do these things daily, I can sense doubts, fears, general anxieties, depression starting to sort of put their roots into me, starting to work their way into me. And what another factor that I see is that as we get older, the responsibilities very naturally and understandably become more and more. You may feel like the walls are closing in sometime. You may have concerns about your parents and how's their health. You might have a bad relationship with a partner, somebody who's close to you. Maybe you're fighting a lot. Maybe it's your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife. There might be a kid involved, which brings a lot of pressure. You might have a pet, which sometimes can be really annoying and bring a lot of pressure. You might have a dog that's whimpering, whining, needs to be let out. Maybe it's peed or shit on the floor again. Your job might be giving you trouble. The boss might be very stressful or micromanaging to you. And maybe you're thinking about the job even when you're home in the late afternoons and evenings and you just can't relax. You try to relax with some entertainment, maybe your favorite TV shows. You just say, I just need to rest. You lay on the couch, you watch your favorite TV show. Maybe you have a drink, you're trying to unwind, but even that doesn't work. It's just kind of like adding to the problem, and you're in this downward spiral. And then you say, I've got a serious case of this anxiety or depression now, and I don't know what I can do to climb out of this hole that I'm in. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of detailing the problem. I think a lot of us are in this type of situation, and I can feel I'm not too far away from it myself, again, if I don't work on my psychology. So we might think, why is this so hard, and is it only me? Why can't things be easier like when I was a kid? I was so happy and carefree. I didn't struggle with this issue so seriously. Maybe you felt some indicators, maybe there were some seeds of it, but it wasn't really that bad. And I think it's because as adults, we must necessarily accept more and more responsibilities, whether we want to or not. More and more are going to be sort of thrust upon us. When we're children, we are the stress to older people. When we're younger, older people are taking care of everything all around us, so we can be carefree. We don't have anything really serious to be concerned about or worry about. They're taking care of so much. So I think that as we move into adulthood, naturally the problems come more and more, the stresses become more and more. And I think those, the ceiling to your personal development and your positive mentality has to do with your ability to manage stress, with your ability to handle complexity, with your ability to digest and process through stress, complexity, drama, trauma, tragedy. Digest those things, make sense of them, process them out of your body, be able to share valuable lessons to others in your community or online. All that stuff becomes very important. Wow, I think that's like a toolkit we need to work on developing and be able to teach and share to others. I mean, of course, they don't typically teach those types of things in school, but I think it's really important because today, this day and age is so super chaotic and so fragmented and so fractured and so anxiety filling that we really need really need those types of tools. And I think that we should be willing to choose responsibilities that we will be willing to take on, because if you don't choose to take on challenging responsibilities in your life and man up, so to speak, somehow the responsibilities are still going to find you, and they may be types of responsibilities that you really don't like, but you have to bear anyway. So you might as well try to choose some that you like a little bit more. Okay, so one more helpful metaphor, and then we'll get into some tactics. I want to share a metaphor that sort of summarized very neatly how I feel about developing positive mind, meaning-filled life, and being constructive and productive on a daily basis, and that is the campfire metaphor. And I don't even remember where I heard this, but I never forgot it. The campfire metaphor. So just like someone who's in the wilderness, maybe they have a family or a community that got to take care of them. It could be cold out there. You're in the elements. You're in the outdoors. And to survive in that situation, every day, early in the morning, there's a process you have to go through to help ensure the survival of yourself and others. And thing number one is you got to be able to build the campfire. So building a campfire, it's hard work every morning. You have to go through those steps, but it provides warmth to yourself and everybody. It enables survival. You can go off and hunt. You can then cook the food, and so on. So you you have warmth. You have light. You can cook your food, and you can keep away predators, and so on. So the campfire metaphor means that every morning, or at some point every day, we need to have those daily processes which build us up, which fortify us, which protect us, which strengthen us. And I think you can have touch points throughout the day, which are like building those mini campfires throughout your day. I mean, that's what I do. I have a morning process. Sometimes I have an afternoon process. Well, actually, oftentimes I do. We'll get into this in a moment. I'm going to share sort of my daily routine. And of course, the evening before bed can also be a daily, some sort of a process which fortifies you against those more negative emotions. I think nighttime is a time when a lot of people struggle, and so a nighttime process could be a very good thing. Now, I want to go through in a very concise way some things that I typically do from day to day. And if you have more questions about it, we can talk about it in the comments section. But I want to compare things that I typically do to what I see other typical average Joes doing. Now, I know I'm nobody so special. I'm not the ideal. I still have my problems, but I'm getting to a stage where I'm more confident in identifying where I'm doing better than other men around me, and I do compare to find ways to make myself better and to help them to be better. So first is I like to have a set wake-up time, and I'd like to wake up a little bit earlier than those people around me. Having a set wake-up time, for me, it's even more important than what time I go to bed. I know going to bed around the same time and having a nightly wind-down routine can be important, but for me, the set wake-up time is really ultimate. As long as I can do that, I'm going to have that first morning win. And then being up a little earlier than others allows me to have a little bit of quietude. Like right now, I'm shooting this video before 8. Now, I think a lot of guys might get up, they might sleep in. They might sleep as long as they feel as necessary. And, when you oversleep, that's already going to be throwing off your psychology. You need to get your body into regular rhythms which match the circadian rhythms and which have some semblance of the night-day cycle. That plays in really importantly to our biochemistry and our psychology. I do not have breakfast. I wake up and I typically go from 7 or 8 to noon without eating. I like to hydrate really well, and I like to get super productive. I like to start working on what I think is my most meaningful thing that I could be doing in my life. I think a lot of guys would chow down on a big breakfast, which probably has a lot of starch, a lot of carbs, a lot of sugar. Those things wreak havoc on the physical body and the mind. If you're like that, you shouldn't even eat at all. But preferably you could shift to a healthy breakfast and then shift again to, maybe if that's right for you, you can try what I do, which is intermittent fasting. I usually just have lunch and dinner. Going through fasting also helps to clear out physical problems and mental issues. If you haven't tried fasting before, for physical and psychological health. You might want to experiment with that a little bit, but definitely educate yourself first. After lunch, I usually have a short nap. Now, when I talk to guys about naps, they say, oh, I can't nap because if I do, I won't sleep at night. It'll throw off my nightly, going to sleep at night. If they say that to me, I know it's because they don't know anything about napping and they're not napping correctly. A nap should be a nap should be shorter than the time necessary for you to go into your first deep sleep cycle. You need to understand sleep cycles. Now, for most people, that means about 30 minutes or less. So you shouldn't be napping longer than 30 minutes. For me, 30 minutes is like the cutoff. Now, I know it's going to take about 10 to 15 minutes for me to fall asleep, so I usually set a timer for about 45 minutes to maybe an hour, depending on how I feel, and that gives me about 15 minutes to fall asleep, and then about 30 minutes of napping, and then the alarm's going to hit me. And I've heard a saying about naps, which I find useful, that if you're napping properly, when you wake up from the nap, you should feel almost like nothing happened. You should feel almost like you got no sleep at all. It's almost as if the moment your head hits the pillow and you've had just a little bit of rest, it's time to get back up again. You can practice that. A proper nap is a really strange type of feeling. You won't understand it unless you've practiced it. And I have someone who has had to practice naps. I started when I moved to China because in China they have the siesta, and I always felt guilty about doing it, but I practiced from about the age of 26 or 27, and now it's my secret weapon because it leads to greater emotional control at night, greater willpower at night, and greater productivity at night. Super important things for the psychology. So I urge you to try to learn how to take power naps. Don't nap too long, that could make the problem worse. In the late afternoons before dinner, I try to exercise. I want to exercise before dinner so that I sweat, again, for positive psychology, positive physicality. It's also going to get my appetite up so I eat a good, nutritious dinner on time. If you have a rather sedentary life and job, you're probably not going to have a good appetite for good meals. You need to make sure that you've worked up an appetite. So I will do my exercise. I will get outside for walks after dinner to help me digest and process that food. Notice I'm not having big meals and then just vegging. I stay moving. I keep active. After dinner, I go for walks to process that food. In the evenings, I go into a reflective mode where I read, I reflect, I write, I walk, I maybe do yoga. I try to do things to calm myself down, and most recently I've been leaving my personal computer at my work office, so I do no personal computer stuff at night, and that's been helping me a lot. That is something new that I've been experimenting with. But anyway, you need to try to have a shutdown time for all your devices. Get off the devices because they're just filling you with anxiety. You're needlessly checking social media. You're firing blue light into your eyes and your brain. Even if you're asleep, if you've been having a lot of caffeine throughout your day, or if you've been having a lot of screen time throughout your day, even if you're supposedly asleep, that can still keep your mind active and anxious and keep you from getting truly restful sleep. So you need to have a shutdown cycle, which is a few hours before you intend to go to sleep. Andrew Huberman details exactly how this works in great depth. You can check out some of his videos. The last thing that I'll mention is I imbibe motivational content, if not once a day, several times per day. Morning, during my exercise, in the evenings before bed. I don't absorb a lot of content that most people would tend to absorb. I don't look for entertainment. I look for things that are going to build me up. So I have several motivational teachers and content producers that I regularly tune into. They're just about the only people that I subscribe to. So make sure you're having some time each day to soak up some positive content. Could be a book, could be videos, could be interviews, but you need to listen to positive, inspirational, motivational teachers who share their philosophies and who also share real tactics. Okay, as you can see, this quickly ballooned into a 20-minute video. I didn't know it was going to go that long, but I truly give these things a lot of thought. I want to be capable of helping myself and also helping my team. My team is my family and my friends and my closest circle, and I want to extend that to you as well. I hope this information helps. If you have any questions or concerns, or you just want to chat about something related to this topic, leave them down below. Happy to chat with you. Bye-bye for now.